Hello, hello. Good afternoon to everyone who is on the call and for those who are joining us. Good, whatever time of day you are watching this. My name is Erin Satterwhite David. I use she, hers pronouns, and I am coming to you from the ancestral homelands of the Hala Sapani people of the Sioux tribe, also known as Oxford, North Carolina. And I'm really excited to join you all for our second annual Membership Monday talking about submitting your awards packet. So this is going to be all things awards. We have a lot of really fun things coming up, especially because there are quite a few new awards this year. If you have been familiar with our awards process last year, we're going to give a brief overview of the awards process. We're going to help answer any questions that the audience might have. I also have a couple questions to ask for our panelists, and then yeah, we'll be able to have a better grasp of how to get that award going. So I'm going to go on ahead and introduce our panelists for today. We're really great to have panelists from three different areas of our awards processes. We do have two types of awards. We have association-wide awards. We also have our council-wide awards. And so we thankfully have folks kind of representing us from all different areas. So first we have Dr. Sarah Lynn McKinnon Crowley, who is representing us from the Dissertation of the Year Committee as their chair. Very thankful for that. We also have Dr. Raquel Raw, who is representing our awards committee, our general awards committee as their chair. And then we have Dr. Brittany Smotherson, who is representing CEP as their awards chair. So kind of all different areas. We also have our executive director, Dr. Jason Gilbo, who is kind of supporting the awards process as from the staff perspective. And so he'll be giving a bit about the awards and the history. And so if you all would like to quickly introduce yourself and give a little bit of a land acknowledgement, I'll offer it up now, starting with Jason.
Hey, everybody. Thanks for being here today. Thanks to our volunteer leaders for being here today. Jason Gilbo, he and him pronouns, Executive Director of ASHE, and I am the staff partner for our awards committees. And I am joining you today from the lands of the Chitimacha, currently known as Southern Louisiana.
And let's jump to Brittany.
Hello, everyone. I'm Brittany Smotherson. Happy to be here. I'm some of everywhere, actually, but right now I'm hanging out in Missouri, so it's nice to meet
Awesome.
you.
And maybe Sarah Lynn next.
Hi, happy to be here. I'm coming at you from Waco, Texas, which is originally occupied by indigenous peoples, including the Hueco and Tawakoni of the Wichita and affiliated tribes.
Okay, and then Raquel.
I was like, that's me, Raquel Raw. I'm an associate professor and associate dean of strategic initiatives at UC Riverside, but calling in from Eastvale, California, but the original lands of the Tongva, the Kalia, and the Lusania people.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And folks that are joining us within the Zoom today, feel free to go on ahead and put in any introductions that you'd like to do in the chat or any acknowledgements that you would like to have. Also, if you have questions throughout the day, you can use the hand raise function, you can unmute, or you can put it in the chat. Any or always will work. One of us will be kind of looking and monitoring the chat to make sure that all the questions get answered and that we're going through. So I'm going to share my screen because we're going to be spending most of our time kind of looking through our website. That's going to be the best place to go. Let's see. So everyone can see the award screen for ASHE on our dazzling new website. Okay, great. So I went through and I talked a little bit about how there are two different types of awards processes, the association-wide and the council awards, but I'll go ahead and pass it over to Jason to talk a little bit about the different awards that we're offering and some of the new awards processes that we're going through this year as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Aaron. I'm going to drop another link in the chat. So I think folks who are on the call have been around ASHE for a while, but for new folks who may be watching this, we've had some awards that have been pretty consistent within the association. So our Early Career Award, our Howard Bowen Award, various other awards that have kind of been a mainstay for the association. In our last strategic planning process back in 2022, one of the things that we realized is that within our awards process, there were some gaps that we weren't necessarily covering with our awards. So Raquel and the awards committee over the past probably 2.5 years has really looked at where are our awards, who are we awarding, what gaps do we have. So very excited that this year we're able to introduce a few new awards. This is from the email that Ebony and I sent out earlier this year. So the Mid-Career Award, we realized that that was a gap that we had, really recognizing folks post tenure. We have some awards like the Research Achievement Award, the Leadership Award, and a few other awards that may specifically encompass folks in the mid-career stage, but we didn't have anything like our Early Career Award, which recognizes folks in their first 6 years of being a scholar post doctorate, and then our Bowen Award, which is kind of like our Lifetime Achievement Award to an extent. So we really wanted to uplift our folks at the mid-career stage. Our next award, new award, is our Public Scholarship Award. So right now we have awards that recognize our dissertations, our dissertation of the year. We have awards that recognize books. We have Research Achievements Award that recognize really the entirety of what someone has done with their research and their career. But one of the things that Raquel and the committee really recognize is a lot of scholars within higher ed, within ASHE, are doing a lot more public scholarship. Of course, there are the notions of does this count for tenure and promotion and for other things? But one of the ways that we as an association really wanted to uplift this important work that connects scholarship to practice is through this new award. The next new award that we have is the Graduate Student Award. Again, we recognize that while graduate students could be recognized with some of our awards, there really wasn't a carve out specifically for graduate students who are doing some really amazing work during their time in their programs. So this new award specifically recognizing graduate students. And then the second to last new award we have is our Indigenous Decolonization Scholarship and Engagement Award, really consistent with our values of inclusion, equity, and organizational diversity, as well as the historical notions of where we have been as an organization. This really uplifts important scholarship and engagement through Indigenous and decolonization scholarship. So all of these four new awards are awards that go through our regular recognition process. The final new award is the Graduate Student Poster Award. This award is actually made possible through an endowment from Noah and Orrin Dresner. Specifically, this award will recognize a poster presented at the annual conference that has graduate students who are part of it. The great thing about this new award is there is a recognition, an initial recognition with a financial incentive to it. But also once this poster is disseminated, published, gotten out there in some way or another, there's also another gift that goes with it. So really excited about these new awards. And finally, somewhat related to the awards process, but also a little bit different, is a way for us to really recognize senior scholars within the field. So we, like many other professional or academic associations, have created a fellows program. We're also currently accepting nominations for fellows. This goes through, I think, mid-July or so, so a little bit longer than the awards process. We have criteria out there for this on that web page as well. And then, Erin, if you go back to the awards page, one thing that I will note, so for each of these awards, there's been a lot of work done by our various awards committees over the past few years to really be as transparent as possible about how we're selecting these awards, the rubric criteria that is available for those awards. So for our council-wide awards, this is available as well as, I'm sorry, for our association-wide awards, as well as our council awards. So let's, for example, Erin, if you'll click on the Graduate Student Award, click the little plus button. So for each of these awards, it gives you a brief description. You click Learn More. It takes you directly to the page that has the information, a little description, the due date, and the nomination nomination evaluation criteria. This is exactly what each of the awards committees is reviewing the award nomination on. So for every award that we have, this is out there, this is clear. If you're preparing an award, a nomination, I really suggest looking at these things as you're developing. For most of our awards, there is a nomination statement and letters of support. Not all of them, but most of them. I really suggest really gearing those things to these review criteria. The timeline is there as well as the nomination requirements. So for each award, there are nomination requirements. Most of our awards look like this. A few awards look a little bit different. Obviously, with the Dissertation of the Year award, you're submitting an abstract and then a full dissertation. With our Outstanding Book Award, you're submitting a chapter as well as the full book. So as you're thinking about different awards, just be sure to look at these requirements. And then once you click on that submit a nomination form, it'll bring you to the actual submission form where you'll upload that information as well. If you have any questions about the process as we continue after today's Zoom, you can always reach out to ASHE, our awards at ASHE.ws. Our admin and membership services coordinator, Briante, and myself monitor that and try to respond as quickly as possible. We know that we have our first set of due dates coming up this Friday with our Dissertation of the Year Award as well as our Outstanding Book Award. Both of those are due on this Friday a little bit earlier because those committees read full dissertations and full books, so they need a little bit more time than other awards, and the remainder of our awards will be due on June 30th. So that's what I got, unless I missed anything that you wanted me to cover, Aaron.
No, that was great. So, yes, as you can see, there are a ton of awards that are being offered this year. I know last year we had 16. This brings us up to 21 this year, I believe. And so really exciting opportunities for folks. I do want to open it up and see if there are any immediate questions from folks that are on the call from anything that we kind of discussed before. Okay, I'm looking in the chat. Good so far.
I did have a question, and this may be just more technical. Jason, so you mentioned a rubric. Is there actually a formal rubric, or did you just mean that the evaluation criteria are the things that would be within the rubric that the committees are using?
So it's a little bit of both. So Aaron, if you scroll down a little bit on here, these are the rubric categories. What we're trying to do is across all of our committees be a little bit clearer. So all of our committees, depending, have a 1 to 5 rubric. So you can see Dissertation of the Year has this, and the committee has a bit more of an extensive rubric. Aaron, if you go back to awards, and then if you go to the CIHE award, and scroll down, there is, and click on, let's say, relevance. Theirs is much more clear than others are. Theirs is by far at the far end of the continuum of how far they're developed, whereas some other ones are still working on. So this is where we're aiming to get to. So the categories that we have, the evaluation criteria, like the categories for the rubric, and then some committees are 1 to 5. Whereas some committees like CHE have the 1 to 5 like very specifically spelled out.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely. That's a great question. Are there other questions for folks in the audience? Okay. So I would like for us to kind of see what it looks like once you go into the application of one of the awards. And so I will pick, let's see, we can look at the mid-career, one of our newer awards. So to submit a nomination, this is what you're going to see. That way, for folks who may not have been in this form before, they'll have a good idea of what to expect before opening it, just in case you're one of those folks like me who forgets to save things. So, yep. So we're just asking for information again, and it says nominator. And so we are looking for self-nominations. If you would like to nominate another person, there are going to be some awards that specifically say that. But for most of our awards, self-nominations are totally fine. So definitely do that, especially because we have our ethics policy that we would like for you to answer honestly about yourself through this process. We also are looking for folks that are going to be active members of ASHE, and so we're asking for that information too. Again, we're not hiding anything. All of the criteria that you're looking for will be also in that web page for each individual award. And so when you come here, it won't be any surprises. Again, you're going, put in that information, put in your nomination statement, and then as you save and proceed, it'll take you to the space where you can add in those attachments. And so as you can see, when you go through and proceed to the next one, it will automatically save for you. But if you leave this page, it will not. So making sure that you're paying attention to where you are in those pages as you move forward. Um, and you don't have to have all of your documents handy when you start your process, but you want to make sure that you add them in before the end of the process, especially if you are getting it in one of the last few days. We want to make sure that there aren't any technical issues or situations that might inhibit you from having a completely full packet by the deadline. So things to take into consideration. So that's just one example. I did want to go through and just let you know that there are some awards that are a little different than others. So we have our Presidential Medal. That is one that is chosen by the current president every year. So that's one where you can learn a bit more information about how that's selected, but it isn't one that you would necessarily submit for. We do also have a Special Merit Award, and that one could be a person, that could be an organization. That one is a little bit more nebulous, but these other ones are going to be a little more straightforward, where we're looking for one or multiple folks that are following those criteria. And then, like I said, those will be all highlighted in those individual pages. Are there any questions about the application, or were there any particular awards that you wanted more information on before we move to our panel questions? All right, seeing none. I have a couple of questions that I would love to ask our panelists to answer. And so for each question, I will specify if I'd like all of the panelists to answer or if there are for specifics. But the first one will be for everyone. I know a question that we often get every year about completing their packet is, what are things that you all may be looking for in letters of support for our awards processes. And so this is for each of our panelists. If you could just share a little bit more about kind of some things to keep in mind, things that they should be asking their folks that are writing their letters of support to keep in mind to make a very strong application.
I can start if someone else is
Okay,
going.
go ahead.
So specific examples I think is really helpful. Like we see a whole range of letters of rec, and so sometimes there's like this really robust letter of rec with like 20 people signing off on it, and so they're like, this is just amazing, and they get everyone to kind of like a committee to say we want this person. Other times you get these great letters and it's by one person, but by and large, the thing that stands out, I think, when we're reading these is people who have like really specific examples that speak to that rubric, which may or may not be as explicit, right, as the example we saw, but really speaks to those points, right? And not just sort of, it's really easy to tell when someone's sort of regurgitating another letter and trying to make it work for this, and it's sort of not what we want. Not sort of, but it's not what we want. We prefer, because then we're really digging and trying to find like, wait, did they have this? You know, that sort of thing. But the letters that really flow nicely are the ones that have all of the key points that we want. You know, then when you're looking at the overview of the award, if there is a really explicit rubric, they speak to each and every one of those points, right? And they give an example of all these different things. And so I would say I would start with that, and I'll let my colleagues chime in.
Yeah, I co-sign. I mean, there are there are parts of our awards that'll say things like, rigorous support of students and their research, for example, or something. And somebody will write in their letter and they'll say, they support student researchers. Well, what does that mean? Does that mean that they are their faculty advisor? Does that mean that they have a research team? Does that mean we have no idea? Is it a conversation after class where they talk to them about something? Like, what are you saying that makes it so that you feel that they are rigorously supporting this student or these students in advancing their scholarship? So if you, yes, those signal phrases do help, for readers. Sure, it does help when you are able to kind of use some of the signal phrasing, but after you put that signal phrasing in there that mirrors what we've written, expand so that we can connect those.
Yeah, we actually just removed the letter of recommendation requirement from dissertation of the year this very year. But one of the things we just really want to make sure is that it is a completed and finished dissertation that we are evaluating.
Yeah, that's a great point, Sarah. One thing I'll add is, so for dissertation of the year, outstanding book award, and I'm pretty sure the Townsend lecture, those are three that don't require letters of recommendation or supporting letters. I think most of our other awards are. There may be another one or two that I'm not thinking of, but those specific ones, we really want, or the committees really look to the contents because they're reading full dissertations, full books, for those things to stand on their own and don't necessarily need a recommendation letter. So that was one of the decisions that we made, is if it's not necessary, why are we requiring it, and adding another barrier. So we removed those specifically from those two awards. And then the Townsend lecture, that got removed a year or two ago as well, I think.
Awesome. Thank you all so much. So for our next question, this is one that I know, let me make sure I'm not missing anyone. Okay, great. For our next question, this is one that I know a lot of folks have had in the past as well. One second, sorry, someone was trying to get in. Okay, great. So what would make a applicant stand out? What would make a packet stand out? So I know that there are varying levels of things that you're asking for each area of awards. I know for dissertation of the year is going to be very different than, say, the mid-career award packet, which would be very different from, say, the article of the like outstanding article for CIHE. But for your specific areas that you're over, what are some things that you may have seen in the past or things that you might be looking for that you feel could make a packet stand out?
I would say for dissertation of the year, when in the past, when I was on the committee and reviewing awards, when I was reading especially the abstract piece, the 15-page summary, the ones that really stood out were the ones who clearly took advantage of the medium, so that 15-page, and weren't obviously like cheating on length to say like, okay, like I'm just kind of shoving pieces in, but really captured the full breadth of the dissertation as much as they could in that short form and made the reader want to know more, to get really excited about the topic, convince us of the originality with perhaps really innovative methods or innovative methods really interestingly applied. And they were the ones where when you were reading them as the reviewer, you got excited and wanted to read the full dissertation. And of course, most people are really good at this, but following all of our instructions is something that's kind of one of the first hurdles for the award as well, particularly for things like blinding and anonymization. We take really seriously at the committee as well.
Yeah, I would add, I'm always compelled by, and it goes back to letters of recommendation, but when there are lots of folks saying the different things, and when I say lots of folks, I mean at different levels. So there's like colleagues saying something, there are mentors who have seen this thing saying it, then there are students saying something about the folks, and this person has been recognized at the institution level, and they're doing stuff in ASHE. So they really are multifaceted. So they're not just doing it for the award, they're really doing the work that the award recognizes. throughout their trajectory. And I think that that's a really important piece, because it's one thing for your mentor to say it, right? Or just your student, but when everyone at different levels are saying that, yeah, this person is this, like this, they're the epitome of whatever this X is. I think that's a really important, and it always stands out to me.
I mean, I would just say it makes a difference when we feel like you know who you're actually nominating. We can tell when it's like, here's the copy of their CV and you've taken some important information out of it and put it in this award, versus the things that either don't show up on the CV or the context behind that one line that's on the CV for service. So that really makes a difference. We don't know that this person led something that then got created 3 years later. We won't know that. You know, you would know that if you've been a part of, you know, working with them and getting to know them and celebrating them along those ways. So whatever it is that you know that's not something that's already paper copy somewhere that gets into a letter really stands out.
One of the things that I'll say is I don't know if I've ever seen an award nomination where someone doesn't deserve to receive the award. Like, this is one of the most competitive pieces of what we do as an association, just because we have folks who are just doing outstanding work. Kind of to some of the points that folks have made, and Raquel and Brittany earlier, about like the specific examples. As I think about award recipients over the previous years, I think there's always something unique that kind of sets them apart. Like, I think of Rashonda Breeden, who received the Dissertation of the Year award a few years ago, who eventually had her dissertation turned into a play, or Stevie. I think a year or two before that, whose dissertation actually included an album as part of it. I think of Linda Sachs, who received the Mentoring Award, and I think it's a green couch she has in her office that a lot of folks through all of her recommendation letters talked about that couch, you know? So there's always kind of these unique spins to, I think, the folks who receive the awards. And I think those things like really stick out in the minds of committees. And especially when we're at the award ceremony, you can really see those kind of unique pieces that specifically come through. So if there's, in addition to the personal story, if there's something that's like super unique about a nominee, like really lean into that. I think that will be super helpful to help folks stand out amongst just a ridiculous amount of qualified nominees.
Thanks, Jason. I really appreciate you saying that. I mean, our members are just so remarkable. And as someone who is not too deep into the awards process, I know it's always a difficult decision every single year. So I appreciate you highlighting that. I wanted to pause my questions to see if there were any questions that may have popped up for folks who are on the call at the moment. Okay, great. Just wanted to make sure. Okay, awesome. Um, oh, I love that. Yes, y'all are giving gems. And so this is why we do events like this, because it's really nice to not just have it written on paper, but to hear from folks who have been looking at these applications for years, who have been um, looking at a lot of these different areas and have really good insight. So appreciate our panelists, and especially Jason, who has some longitudinal information from higher up to support that. One question that I know that we had last year, but couldn't remember the answer to, was is there any consideration taken to folks who may have applied for, or I guess nominated themselves for awards in the past, came close but didn't get it? Is it a, we're looking at just this year? Is it a, maybe we're looking at how you've been nominated in the past? Tell us a little bit about that for each of your areas.
Well, I'll say for us, it's this year. The committee last year did some updates after the award cycle, and so for us to pull whatever is in the archives from before, they would have been submitting and evaluating on different criteria. So for them having the benefit of being able to be considered in this current year, it would be best if they were to have their nominators to resubmit.
Yeah, I'd echo that. We have different folks who are on the committee each year. Like it's intentional that you don't always have the same people. And so while I might have been on the committee last year, like, oh, I remember this one. Let me, it wouldn't have mattered because other people are reading it as well. And I think, it's not foreign that people would apply multiple times to get it. Sometimes for these different awards, that's the norm, especially for some of the more popular awards that it's like it's saturated, right? The competition is really thick. And so we have to just do it year by year because it's sort of yesterday's price is not today's price. So what you were doing last year will not get you qualified this year because there may be someone else who, blew it out of the water or whatever. But I mean, to Jason's point, everyone is really great. And so it's not like, we're just picking between this and way down here, right? We're really kind of like finite like changes, that sort of thing. But yeah, we do it every year, and I think that's the only way you can do it fairly, because the environment has changed, what people are doing has changed, the committee evaluating has changed, right? And so we just do it every year.
And dissertation of the year, you get one shot. Like for this year, the only ones who can be considered are those who deposited their dissertation between June 1st, 2024 and May 31st, 2025, and that's it. So
Perfect. Thank you.
And I was going to say that time delineation, we also have that for the book award. It has to be published within the last year.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure for public scholarship, the piece had to be put out there within the last year. So I think those are going to be our three time delineated processes. Actually, maybe CIHE maybe as well, but I think that one may be a bit more extended. It may be 2 years. But if you're thinking about nomination for that one, definitely check their website because that information will be on the website.
Absolutely.
And actually, let me back up. Early career does have its 6 years within completion of a doctorate degree. Mid-career is 6 to something else. There's another time delineation on those two. So yeah, double check a few are the awards that you're thinking about because some of them will have some time delineations.
Yeah, the big takeaway I think from everyone is that you really read through whatever you're wanting to submit for, and then follow all of those instructions. That's what I'm hearing. We do have a question in the chat from Kristen who asked about submitting a nomination for someone who may fit into more than one category. Do we need to pick a category, or can they be submitted for more than one award? That's a good question. And anyone can take that.
I can go first. If you can be nominated in multiple categories, and that's fine. More work, right? Because of the specificity and doing all those different things. But if you're great, we will not block your blessing. So yeah, turn in the forms. Yeah.
And I think with some, there's some natural overlap as well. I think about the Early Career Award and the CP Garcia Award for Junior Scholar. Those are kind of like around the same time. So folks could be nominated for both of those. When we think about folks at the mid-career stage, it may be, I mean, there's a variety of them, mentoring, distinguished service, book. So yeah, it could be a variety. I will say, as I'm thinking about over the past few years, I think there may have been one person who received two awards within 1 year. It was an association-wide award and a council award, if my memory serves me right, either in 2020 or 2021. That's the only time that's really happened where someone's received multiple awards, from what I can remember. And actually, I'm even thinking about like nominated. Granted, I don't remember every single one, but usually that's one of the things that would pop out to me, and I'm just not recalling someone who's been nominated for multiple. But like Raquel said, it's possible, and there's nothing against it.
Mhm. I did have one more question, but I wanted to see if there were any other questions that may have popped up for folks in our audience today. Okay. Well, then I will jump in. I would just love for all of our panelists to just give advice for the folks that are on the call and the folks who might be watching this afterwards. If you had just a piece of advice, and it can be kind of on any aspect of this, whether it's encouraging folks to apply or something about submitting, or even about the waiting process. What's a piece of advice that you would give to the folks that are watching?
Well, I'll go. I'd say what's on the form is important. Adhering to that as best as you possibly can matters, whether that be adhering to the word count of the statement or it be putting what you're supposed to put in your letter or letters, combining things into one document, whatever it is, all of that matters. Uh, then I would also say, as just a second piece, sooner rather than later is great, because sometimes you think it's been submitted and it's a full packet and it's not. And we need the time to be able to have looked at that to give you time to fix it before the deadline. Because if someone else already has their stuff in by the deadline and yours is incomplete and we've got a bunch to review, the likelihood that we're going to track down that submission to have it be complete, it's not necessarily guaranteed.
I would just say to apply, like nominate yourself or get someone else. You'd be surprised how many some of these categories we get one or no or three, like so the odds could be in your favor. And I know sometimes like, oh, I'd never get it, but you never know until you apply. And I think it's really important because we see ebbs and flows with the different years, right? Like some people nominate, sometimes they don't. And so I think that's a really important piece. And as you know, for some of the awards, you time out. So why don't you might as well go for it and see what happens? And then that doesn't preclude you from applying later for other things. But I think that's really important. Like a lot of people I know, they're like, oh, we would never. I was like, you'd be surprised how few people sometimes apply to some of them, right? There are others that were just inundated, right? Like there's so many applicants or nominations, but others there are not that many. And people just don't apply. And so I would say make sure you apply, ask someone to nominate you if you're don't want to do it yourself and that sort of thing, but definitely apply.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely follow the instructions. They're important to us. Please be confident and apply, or definitely get someone else to nominate you, which you kind of have to for dissertation of the year. I also want to say too that on my committee, and I'm sure on all the other committees as well, like the fairness piece in equity and how we evaluate the dissertations is something we take so very seriously. We think through potential conflicts of interest and make sure that all the dissertations are evaluated on their merits. And that's one of the reasons we're so strict about anonymity, to make sure that the people who are reading the dissertation are really separate from like knowing who actually wrote it and aren't influenced by any outside factors. So we take the work really seriously and want to make sure that some of the highest quality dissertations in the field are the ones that win the award. Not to say that there aren't other wonderful works as well, but we care very much about being as I'm a qualitative researcher, so bias isn't necessarily bad, but accounting for any potential biases the best we can when doing the awards process.
Yeah, I'm just gonna follow up with something that Brittany said is starting early and getting things in early. ASHE members are just notoriously getting things in the last minute all the time, which is okay as long as it's before the due date. So for both of our due dates, it's noon Mountain Time for book and dissertation this Friday, and then for all the other awards on Monday, June 30th, it's noon Mountain Time. And I'm one, we'll never have a midnight deadline because at 12:01, we are sending things out to committees, we're running checks. The work really starts. So we don't accept late submissions because the moment after the due date, things begin. Our committees begin their process. Like I said, some groups have to read full dissertations and books. And other committees read pretty extensive packets as well. So we definitely begin that work pretty early. And yeah, just get it in, start it early, get it in. on time and early if you can, for sure.
Yeah, I'm just gonna just someone who works within the ASHE staff just say our technology sometimes can be a little iffy. And so if you get it in early and you might be missing something or something might have gone wrong, then we're able to help troubleshoot if you get it in sooner rather than later. When things are due, we do have kind of all hands days where we're around to answer questions as quickly as possible. However, if you get it in before those, then you won't have to have those nail biting moments of, did I get it in on time? Because we do not accept things after the deadline. We do not accept things after the deadline. So, any other
Oh, sorry.
question?
Just one more
Oh,
piece
sorry. Yes.
about that too. Some of the awards only allow there to be one packet for you. So if somebody submits something super last minute and somebody else already nominated that person, we're going to actually have to have those two nominating teams combine something and submit one packet. So it's not a good idea, I would say, to wait until the last minute if you want to give your person the best chance of making sure that there's a complete and on-time submission.
Thank you so much for adding that. That's a big piece that I think a lot of folks don't necessarily consider when asking folks and keeping folks that are bringing their letters of support um, and keeping them accountable and making sure that they're staying on time. So thank you for that. Anything else from any of our panelists, from Jason, from anyone who's on the call right now? Well, if not, I just want to say thank you so, so much for attending this Membership Monday on awards. We really appreciate you being here and being engaged. I want to say thank you so much to our panelists who gave some gems, as we heard. And I really encourage and hope that all of you getting your packets in on time and yeah, have a great experience with this. So thank you. And I'll stay on for a little bit after I turn off the recording, but otherwise, have a great rest of your day.